important things related to polymorphism and inheritance. And one more option. Next, we were discussing about the concept of templates. Just give me, let's take an overview of that templates here. Yep. So we discussed about what is the role of templates, why we need templates, the concept. So for that, I will show you one small example. Means how we design the template and configure the template. So here in the Typescript file, so we are creating a contract. So interface, and the name I given as iProduct. Now in this interface, we are defining some rules like name must be string. So price must be number, and quantity must be number, and total is a function which should return number, and another print is a function that should return void. So that is the contract. We configured the contract here, defined it. And next, we need to implement this contract. So we are creating a class. So this class is some product template. It's a product template. That means some functionalities it will implement. Some functionalities it will leave it so that they can be implemented later. So this class have to use this contract. Generally, if a class have to use the contract, then we have to use implements. That means this class is not extending it, it is implementing it. Implements iProduct. So then as per the rules, you need to define all of them. Here, configure all of them. So in this, the product template. So we have public name. We configured it with an access modifier. As per the contract, its type is currently any type. So we, as per the contract, it is configured as a string. And we have another price. So that is number. And we have the quantity. So that is also number. And the total is a method. So public total is a method. And it is returning number. Then here we have to return this dot quantity into this dot price. It should return it. Now we have print function. That print function is incomplete. That means we are defining the public print, and it is an void, and it is an incomplete one. When you are implementing a contract, it cannot have incomplete. So if it is incomplete, it's to be implemented later. Then we have to mark it as abstract. We have to mark it as abstract. But when you mark any member in a class abstract, in a class, when you mark anything as abstract, then automatically the class also must be configured as abstract. That means you have to mark the class as abstract. So that is the abstract class. And you don't need this because it's implementation. So will be defined here. I am configuring public, abstract, and print method. So this indicates that all the functionalities are implemented. Only this print need to be implemented. So that means it's a template. In this template, all functionalities are configured. Only the print is not configured. That will be implemented according to the requirements. As per the requirements, it will be configured and implemented according to the requirements. So generally, what we have to do is we have to create. So now how we can implement it? So we have to create a class that is product component. This product component class must use all these features and must able to implement this functionality. That means this product component should extend. It extends the product template. It extends the product template. In that, whatever incomplete functionality is there, that we have to configure. So other details here I am defining name. So what name you want to store? That means we are configuring the functionality, some Samsung TV. So price, so what price you want? So we configured the price. And quantity, so what's the quantity? And here we need to define the component should have a total function. This total function should return this dot quantity into this dot price. So price, it should return that quantity into price. Actually, you may ask, like, already it is configured. It is configured. Here we are not configuring, we are just using it. We are not configuring. Configuring means we have to declare and define the types and all. We are just using it. We are just using that total. And here we need to implement the print method now. Print need to be extended and configured. So what it have to do is console.log. It should print name. So this dot name. And next line, it should print price. So this dot price. And it should print source quantity. So that is this dot quantity. And it should print total in the next line. So, and this dot total. So we are configuring, so this dot total. So that is a method. We are defining all this. That means here the key point is, already I told you, right? We are configuring the methods and members. Here we are not configuring, we are using them. What we are doing, we are extending. Na? We are extending. We are just using. We are not configuring again. Configuring requires what data type it is, what access modifier it is. But when you are using, you don't need to do that because already they are configured. We are just using them. Now, here, this component is using a template. A template. In the template, so whatever the configurations are there, those configurations are used here. So the point is, the configurations are hidden. They are not displayed. Here the configurations are hidden, but the configurations are working for them. That means name is a string, price is a number, quantity is a number, total returns a number. So print is an void. The configuration is working from them. That means they don't need to again configure the details. They have to just use the details. That means the configuration of these members is hidden and they are being used here. That means hiding the configuration details, hiding the functionality details, and providing only the functionality to the component. That means now here all other information is hidden. All other information is hidden, but it is working. All other information is hidden. So we are just using them. The configuration is hidden, but the configuration is working. That means in a template, only the functionality we will give. The configuration we don't need to define. It is already configured. So the configuration is hidden in this area and only the functionality is provided. So hiding the configuration and providing only the functionality, hiding the configuration and providing only the functionality, this mechanism is called abstraction. Abstraction is nothing but hiding the configuration and providing the functionality, and allow to customize the functionality, allow to customize the functionality. So hiding the configuration and providing functionality and also allow to customize the functionality. This mechanism is called as abstraction. That means in product component class, you are using name, price, details. Now, what is the access modifier for price, quantity, and name? The access modifier for them is public. The access modifier is public. And what is the data type? Data type is string, numbers. We have the data type. So you are not configuring, but they are working. How they are working, don't think that according to the value. Suppose if I don't define the value also. If I don't define the value. Now see this name, so is shown as any type. But if I try to add some number into it, it's not allowed. Why it is not allowed? Because it says that it is a string and number is not allowed. It is a string and number is not allowed. I haven't never mentioned that it is a string here. So that means the configuration of this member is hidden, but it is working. The configuration for that member is hidden. It's not displayed, but it is working. That is coming from, it's a template. It is coming from this template. So template is providing the configuration and the template is providing the functionality. So you have to just use that and customize it according to your requirement. Customizing means not the configuration, the values. So we need to define that and handle. This mechanism is generally referred as abstraction. That means hiding the configuration and providing the functionality so that they can use the functionality and customize according to the requirement. This mechanism is called as abstraction. Actually, abstraction is that. And how the abstraction is configured by using templates. So that is why they are called abstract classes. Abstract classes because whatever configured here, they will be hidden to the real implementation. but they will be given to the real implementation, but they are hidden. They are not provided. So we don't need to configure them. That's what actually the technique of abstraction is. Anywhere the purpose of abstract is to create and configure the template. Now, don't be so silly, Mr. Rakesh Kumar. So already we have learned about contracts. Contracts cannot have any access modifiers. I hope at least this little bit common knowledge you have. Huh? Interfaces cannot have access modifiers. Because your genius in understanding the concept depends on what basics you know first. Because your questions should be according to your level of understanding the point. First, if you understood the concept, then you can correctly trigger the question also. Understand? This tells that you don't even know about an interface and questioning about interface. That's makes so silly in the questions also, right? So make sure that first you know about the topic, then have a question on that topic. That will be better, because so simply you cannot say that interface members are not public, why you given public. That's like simply like foolish. You need to be aware of first the topic, what it is, what you are talking about. Then you can have a proper question on handling it. Okay, right. I hope everyone understood the concept of abstraction. Understood? So is it clear? So abstracting is hiding of members or hiding the configuration. So abstraction is hiding of members or hiding the configuration. So technically, it is hiding the members and the configuration, both of them actually. But the hidden members can be accessed. The hidden configuration can be accessed and used and implemented. Okay. It is both hiding the members and hiding the configuration also, because the members are also hidden. Members are also hidden. But see, when members are hidden, so it is showing this, that I need these members. It is showing that I need this print. That means a member is not there. It is hidden, but it still knows that it needs it. So that is the concept. That is the configuration, right? Yeah. Configuration and members. So providing for implementation. That is one general thing you have to know. Next, in TypeScript, because this is not there in JavaScript, so you have to know about this in TypeScript. And the next, another important in TypeScript, you have to know about the concept of generics. Generics. So actually the concept of generic is type safe. Type safe. The concept of generic is type safe. So technically that is the concept of I don't know who is this person. Let's talk to this person so that we can understand his problem. Yes, Vinayak, tell me, what is your doubt?
Hello, sir.
Yes, tell me.
In the previous program, why we have to implement those, sir? Why can't we directly class product component extents of product template? Why can't we do implements iProduct to product component itself, sir?
Then what is the use of template? What is the use of template?
We have the same members and same methods in abstract cluster, so we can directly do that in public and use it from that from interface, right?
First point. You understood what you are questioning?
Yes.
What is your question? You are saying that why you are creating an abstract class? Huh? Your question is why I am creating abstract class? Huh?
It's not about why. Because, no,
first
because
answer.
we have.
First the
Yeah,
point.
that's
First
one question,
point.
and
your
there are two questions in
your
this.
question is why I am using an abstract class. Why can't I directly implement this interface? Huh? That is your question, huh?
Yes, sir. We have same methods, same variables and methods now, sir.
That means you haven't understood anything about interface and abstract classes.
Yeah, that's what I want to understand, sir.
What is the purpose of interface? You are there from the beginning of our class.
I joined 5 minutes late, sir.
No, I am talking about previous session. What is purpose of interface?
For contracts.
As per the contract, can we implement everything in the contract in a template? We are designing a template. Template have to follow contract.
Okay.
No?
I'm not aware.
You don't know anything about building the applications. Huh? So that's the reason you don't know that point. That means why we are discussing about the concept of template. Purpose of template is?
Purpose of template is for abstraction.
That's
because we give the template. No, but we give the template to ICC Bank. I mean, I been in the class.
Come on, man. Right. So it's okay.
We build the template and we give it to someone so someone can customize the template.
Right. That means now template is its own or it has some rules?
It will have some rules. Yeah.
Who will provide the rules?
Interface maybe.
That means there is an order for implementation. You know?
Okay.
Understood? Huh?
So this is that kind of order. So from interface it comes to abstract.
This is how everything is designed, exact order.
Okay.
Understood? Huh?
Okay. So this is how we have to design. If you want to design template, then you have to implement from interface and do it.
Of course. How you design a template without rules?
Okay, because I don't know about templates. It's not taught in JavaScript.
That's why I'm telling here. That's the reason I explained half an hour about what is a template. I hope you understood that. Better concentrate on the class. Huh? Yeah. So if you don't understood the point of hierarchies, order, then these all silly doubts will come. That itself tells that you don't know any programming. So you are not aware of any programming and you are not concentrating on what we are discussing at all. So the main concept we discussed is that any component cannot be designed by its own. We have to design by using contracts. A contract must be there. And template have a contract, that template is implemented and template is used. Okay. This is the order. That is the hierarchical order, how we design the library for our projects. So what is generic here? What is generic? What is the concept of generic? Generic is actually type safe. So the concept of type safe is, what is type safe? For example, suppose, so some remote data is coming, remote data is sent to your application. So that may be from any API. From any API, remote data is sent to your application. When remote data is sent to your application from any API, usually what happens is, generally, we are not sure about the data types. We are not sure about the data types. So what kind of data will come? That means I am creating a name property. So a name property. So, or I'm creating a method like the method is get data. I am creating and configuring a method get data. So this has to fetch the data coming from remote location. So it is expecting some data. I don't know what type of data is coming initially. So then what should be the data type for this parameter? I don't know what type of data comes. Then what should be the data type for this parameter? So any type, good. So any type, yes. So this is any type. This is any type. Now any type means it can handle any kind of value. That means integer, string, float, any kind of value, boolean, any kind of value. And in that case, now, for example, we sent some string, then it will accept the string. When we send boolean, it will accept the boolean also. But actually, so once you know the data type is string, so based on first value, based on the first value, you know that data type is string and all others will be string type. We need to handle all others string type. Then we cannot configure that as any type now. That means initially we don't know the data type. But once the first value comes, we know the data type. That means here we have name. Name is the field. Initially, we don't know the data type. First value comes into that name, and the first value is string. And if first value is string, now all other values also string. That means now this name should fix the type to string. If I left it as any type, first it will accept string. Second, if a number is sent, it will accept number. That means it is going to accept any kind of value. But once you know the first value is string, I need to fix it all for the string type. That means initially we don't know the data type. But after we know the data type, we should not allow any another type into it. So how you will manage that? Because generally it is not directly possible. Suppose I am writing so name as any type. And into the name, I stored some string. Into the name, later I can store a boolean. Into the name, I can store some number. But once I know the first value is string and I need to fix it for string, I should not allow others. Then I cannot write string directly first. Why? Because I don't know initially what type will come. Based on the first value, I have to decide. So this is where generics will come to picture. Generic means it is type safe initially. That means it will allow for any type of value. And once it knows the type, then it is strongly typed. That means it will fix the type to that particular. That is what actually the concept of generic. For example, see now, how do we write here? Suppose I'm writing the class demo. In that we have a print method. Print method. This print method is having two values, A and B. Initially, I don't know the data type. Then I given as any. I given as any. Now the problem is here. If both are defined as any type, one can be string, another can be number, one can be string, another can be boolean, one can be number, another can be boolean. So contradictory will be, data will be there. So I need to fix these two to a specific data type. I should not allow any another type later. We need to fix that, even one parameter or multiple parameters. That means, for example, here initially, so I have any type, and I'm just using, so here console.log, just I want to print, so type of A. So that means I will write here, so A is, and here I will write type of A. So initially we don't know the type. Then see what we are configuring here is, I will make this print to a generic type. Generic type is defined with a angle brace like this. And in that angle brace, we need to use some reference type. Actually, in the angle brace, you can give anything that represent the type, any character. But traditionally, to mention type, people have an habit of giving T or writing type. So here I give T. And now the parameter, this A, the type of parameter is not any, it is of that type T. That means here initially, remember, this print is a method which is having a parameter whose data type is unknown. Once the parameter type is known, it should not allow any another type. That is important. So how do we do that? I will create an object for the demo class. And here I'm accessing obj.print method. It's a generic method. If it is a generic method, it is important to tell what type of value it is going to handle. Now, while using the method, I will send a string value, string type into it. We have to tell the type. Automatically, you can see A becomes string now. That means according to the data type you mentioned, it becomes string now. So that means you can add only a string value into it, only a string value into it. Later, if I'm accessing the print and I'm sending a number type value, now automatically it will transform into number. It will not allow any another type. So that means it will be strictly only for number, only for number. So if I access that print, so with a Boolean, so true or false, so that means Boolean, then A will be a Boolean, so true or false. So that means how you configured the type, right? So of course, I haven't given the return type means, I haven't given the return type means what is the return type by default? What is the return type by default? It will be void, right? So if you want to define the type, you can also define the return type. So return type as that particular type. You can configure the return type as that particular type, right? And of course, if it is return type is defined, then it has to return. So that means you can configure the data type and the return type also generic. Understood? Right. So technically, that is the point how we can manage the values and define the value. That is general. So configuring and defining the return type. Configuring and defining the return type. So if there is no return type, it can be constructor. What you are talking about? Speak some technical things, man. Programming style. What is the question at all? If there is no return type, it can be a constructor. Why you are linking a constructor and return type? So you do one thing, keep your doubts with you so that I can talk to you towards the end. Time waste with you. That's the reason. Okay. Because your questions are completely rubbish, right? So not at all related to any concept each other. Such rubbish things we will discuss towards the end. Keep your questions with you, Vinayak. Okay. Because you are completely irrelated question you are asking. That's not at all even uh, related to each other also, right? So keep your question with you. I'll get back to you. Okay. So here the data types and the configuration of the types depends on what type you are specifying. That means initially it doesn't know the type, but once it knows the type, it should work for only this. I will give one example here. So general in real world environment, how these are designed, libraries are designed. So for example, so we have different databases. We have different databases. So we have different databases. Technically, we have different database. Database like we have some Oracle. So like Oracle, or like MySQL. So MongoDB. Like this, different databases are there. SQL Server, different databases will be there. So in these databases, usually, suppose you have an application. That means suppose you are learning. So Java, .NET or something technologies you are dealing with. So usually what happens is to connect with the database. So I hope your technologies will provide you a connection class. A connection class. Am I right? Generally to connect with the databases, I hope you have drivers. Database drivers are installed and you have a connection class. Do you have different classes for different connections? A different database? Do you have different classes for different databases? You have different classes for different databases. So different classes for different databases. So actually, connection class will be only one. Connection class will be only one, but that class uses different connection strings. So it uses different connection strings. I hope you know that. Class is only one. Only one connection class is provided, and it uses different connection strings. So that connection strings uses different drivers related options. I hope, am I correct? Is it so? Right? That means you have a connection class, but to connect with a different database, you have different connection strings. Right? Yeah, different connection strings. So the point is, once you know that you have to work for Oracle, so that means based on the connection string, this class object, initially it can accept any type of connection. It can access any type of connection. But it once fixed that it is according to connection string, it knows that it has to communicate with Oracle. It should allow only Oracle related features, Oracle related commands. It should allow only those. This object should work for only Oracle now. So it should not allow MySQL or MongoDB like options. It should allow only that. So that is generally the point. That means initially this class don't know, the class object don't know which database it should work for. But according to connection string, it knows that it should work for Oracle. Then it will not allow other parameters, other database related interactions. It will allow only Oracle. That means initially you are not sure, but finally you have to fix it for that particular situation. So for example, see here. So I'm creating a class called Oracle. That is the class. So as Oracle is the class, and or I defined as the connection string. Suppose we have interface I Oracle. That's an interface. So for Oracle, we have uh, host. We have a property host. So or say user name. That is a string type. Password. That is a string type. And database. So that is string type. So and Oracle have this driver, some driver, some string type. So like this, I defined some details. This is Oracle contract. As per the rules, Oracle will contain this. So we have interface. So MySQL, MySQL. And here we have host. So it is a string type. And we have the option like username, or say simple user. That's also string. So password. So password. So that is also string. So and database. That's also string type. Okay. These are the details we are having. And we have like interface. So MongoDB, MongoDB. Now this is having only URL. So that is a string type. MongoDB just uses this URL. Now I need to create a class database connection. Database connection is the class. So this database connection class is having a connect method. So it is having a connect method. So public, so connect is a method. So it's a void type method. This connect method is expecting connection string. Connection string. So this connection string, we don't know initially what type of connection it should work for. Then we will make this connect as a generic type, and connection string will be that generic type. And we need to access everything inside the connection and print that for. So where property, we are reading every property. For where property in the object, that means we are accessing the object, that is connection string. For every property in the connection string, we are printing that property. So console.log, and we are printing the property and its value. The value is we have connection string. So we have connection string of property. Its value is printed. That's how we have defined. We are configuring. So these are all the options we defined. The connection strings we have configured and specified. Right. So this is basically how we are configuring. This is the contracts we created and we are using it. Okay. Now we have to create an object for this database connection. That means LET. Suppose I am creating to Oracle. Oracle is equal to new database connection. Database connection. And through the Oracle, I'm accessing the connect method. I need to work for only, I need it to work for only Oracle. work for only Oracle. In that case, so we have to configure this as, so I Oracle. So this is the custom type. Now the connection string is an Oracle type. That means as per the Oracle type connection string, that means the connection string should work for Oracle as per the rules of Oracle. What details it should have? It's an object. It should have the username. So username is a string type. I'm configuring the username string type. So suppose say Scott. So it has like driver name. So that means it is having like, so driver. So driver is like ODBC something. And it is having username Scott. And it have like password like 123 or say tiger. And we have like database is like products. So that is how we are configuring the connection for Oracle. That means now anything is missing. So that means, so driver is missing, driver is not mentioned, then it shows an error. So because as per the Oracle contract, the connection string must have a driver is missing. And it says driver is mandatory. That is the reason why I hope you might have seen in your Java, .NET or anywhere, when you are writing a connection string, connecting with databases and all, if you miss any particular property to mention, then immediately it alerts saying that you need a driver for connecting with Oracle. But you don't need a driver for connecting with any other. Suppose I'm using LET, suppose MySQL is equal to new database connection. And MySQL, so have a connect method. So I have a connect method. And this connect method is only for this. So here we need to define that. So technically, here we are configuring the details. Here we are configuring the details. So that means here we are specifying connect. This time it should work for some MySQL. Then in that case, as per the rules, it should be MySQL. And what should be the details? I written here driver. So driver, but driver is not there. You know that. Now it cannot accept any other type of values. It will accept only which value? As per MySQL contract, what are the options defined? So host, user, password, database. That means we have to define the host, say local host, and user, so like root. So password, so like 1, 2, 3, 4. So and the database, some employees, like this, employees. That's how we need to define the connection. And every connection is different. Configuring is different. But the class is same. The object is same. That means one object can handle everything and configure everything. Oracle object. What is there to explain? Oracle is an object of which class? It is an object of which class? Database connection class. And Oracle can access the method connect. And to which database it should connect, you have to pass the generic type. And it should work for only that type. Array, Mr. Genius people, I am not connecting to database here now. Understood? Such a dumb, seriously, you are so dumb in understanding the concept. Now, because here somebody saying that, sir, you need port number to connect with the database. Don't be such foolish, man. Don't be like such foolish things. I don't know. what is the level of your mindset, very synchronized, very condensed. Uh, Fine. So here we are not connecting with the database, man. Don't take it very seriously, and don't get depressed if it will not connect with the database. Okay. I'm just showing the concept. We are not connecting with the database. Don't feel so much depressed if it is not connecting with the database now. Okay. Uh, right. So, so here we are configuring. Another one is MongoDB. And here technically, so database connection. And now this MongoDB have connect and MongoDB. So this is the MongoDB. That's how we defined it. Technically, so according to that, now the connection string for MongoDB so will accept only one property. It will not accept the host. It will not accept the usernames. Nothing is there. It will accept only one URL. And that URL is some 127.0.0.1:27017, like that. You configure in this way. That means our intention is to understand that now one class object have different behaviors according to the situation. So this is initially type safe, but once it knows the type, it will not allow any another type. This is another concept that resembles like polymorphism. Am I right? What do you say? So it resembles polymorphism. That means you created only one class object, but that is working for different situations. But here our main concept is to restrict the type so that other type of values are not allowed into it. Now, of course, when you run this and you check that here. So in the terminal, or better, I will give in an explorer. Okay. When you run this, that means all the three are working for three different situations. So tsc index.ts, and here I am configuring. So node index.js, it gets that and display. You see, all are working. I just given one below another. So I can just make it more clear. So here I am configuring the more clear. Yeah. There is no difference to understand here, right? So here I will put that option like connect console.log, connection with Oracle. And here another option log. So connection, so with some MySQL, like this, just roughly. And console.log. So connection with so MongoDB. Okay. These are the basic just separation concerns we are defining here. Now these are data types. This is data type. Do you know now these are custom types? Understood? Custom type. That means you created your own type. This is custom type. Now interface is working as a type. Am I right? Interface is working as a type. That already I showed you in the beginning of interface itself, first day itself. We created an interface, we made it as product as type as interface type. So that means, so what is this MySQL for connect? What is this MySQL for connect method? What do you say? What is MySQL for connect method? it is type, right? Type. It is what type? What type it is? Generic type only, but generic type of object it is. Am I right? Generic type of object. Now interface is working as a type here. Understood? I hope everyone got a clarity on that. Interface is working as a type, and it restricts to that particular type, and it is strongly typed to this particular type. So it is your custom type. You created your own type. It's not like number or string. It's your own object type. It's an object type. It can be object, it can be array, anything. It can be object or array, anything. So that is what actually the point is. Already we know that if any data type is there, it will accept only those type, right? So suppose if this is having a port number, it's a number type, then obviously in the Oracle here the connection have a problem. Here we have to define the port number. So what is that port number? It should be string type or number type. It should be string type or number type. Number type. Then what is the question, man? Come on, improve yourself at this level now. It should be a number type, right? At this level, you can't ask these silly things. Like if interface is having number, what will happen? What will happen? It will be number only, right? Right. So that is all very basic things now. So now technically, this is any type of value. It can be, this is an object we are configuring. Suppose this is an object. Suppose I'm defining another point here. I'm creating a class called service. This service class is having, so I said suppose API service, or some data service. Okay, this data service is having a method called get data. And initially, so it's return type, get data return type, and the value type. So here it is expecting data. Initially, any type, return type, some any type like this. So I want this service method to work for any type of data. I want this service method to work for any type of data. That means whether it may be employees, it may be products, it may be students, for any kind of data, only one method should work for all of them. In that case, generally, suppose, so we have like, so public, so we have an interface like iProduct, that is an interface. And it have name, so string type, and the price, so that is a number type. And we have another interface. So interface is some employee, employee. And this interface employee, I'm defining as name. That's a string type, and salary, that's a number type. So like designation. So that is also a string type, like this. Now I want this data service to work for any of these. That means work for any of this. So for example, so if it has to work for this, that means now we make this get data as a generic type, and the data should be that generic type, and the return should be of that particular type. So of that particular type, then it should return the value. it should return the data. Whatever data is there, it should return the data. So actually, now this can be any type. That means it's, suppose you are working here, so, and configuring, that is a single value you are configuring. So if you are sending multiple values, actually what we can do is, so object let obj is equal to new data service. New data service. We are creating new data service. So we are configuring data service. So now in this data service, we have a method obj.getData. Now this method, I am sending I product. So this is an object type. The data is an product type. That means I need to send one object into it. One object into it. So it should have name and some string. It should have price. So that is some number. It is defining. You can do, that means it's returning it. It's returning the data. I created another get data. This time I configured I product array. I product array. Now in that case, what should be the parameter type? What should be the parameter type? What do you say? What should be the parameter type? Parameter type. Parameter type will be array of products. It will not be object. It is array of products. You see, it is an array of product type. Understood? It is an array of product types. So if it is array of product type, how do we pass array? In the square brace, in the flower brace. So you have to define name as TV and price as some price. And it can have another product, so which will have same name as mobile and have price and some price. So like this you define. So that means now it works like an array and it returns the array. This works like an object, it returns an object. That means it can work for different kind of situations now. So same type only, but one can be one object and can be multiple. So array you can configure in this way. This is the purpose. This is the advantage of working with the generic types. So generic, a property can be generic, a method can be generic, an entire class can be generic. Entire class can be generic. That means all the members in the class will be generic. The members in the class will be generic. So that is actually generic type. So configuring and working with the generic type. So this is different type. That means now this get data is returning, first one is returning an object. So that contains this data. Next one is returning an array. So that contains the collection of objects. That's how we manage. And you know how to handle that. If one object is coming, we store in a reference of object. Array is coming, we store in a reference of array. We can access and use it. That means I can keep here let product is an, so product is an just object. Suppose I am creating let products is an array. That means product contains one object and products contains an array of objects. Array of objects of product type. So we can access that and use it. That means suppose I say console.log. I can access only product.name. I will access only one. But if I use products of, that should be an index number dot name. So we can access that like this. It depends on which one you are dealing with. Accessing an object, working with an object and an array, we know those two techniques, how to manage them. But this is the concept of generic. So this is very regularly used in our real world environment, especially for designing the library and the methods in such a way that they can handle any kind of data, any kind of data. So a property can be generic. So a method can be generic. You can have a class also generic. A class can be generic. That means when you design a class, so we define the class. So that is demo. This class can be generic. The intention of making the class generic is actually, so whatever the members you define in the class, suppose the properties, suppose I defined some n. So n, it can be a generic type. That means the member of that particular class will be the generic type. So, and here we are accessing it. So if we are configuring and accessing it, so we are defining in the same way. Too much of questions. I will do one thing. I will talk to you people so that I can know your levels of what you understood. Yes, Javed. Tell me, what is your problem?
If the object is of type I product, no? So if I could, since we have already defined it of type I product, and now if I try to create an array of type I employee, that would not work. Correct?
That is correct.
That's what I was trying to ask.
You are asking that, huh? Achha.
Yes.
What is the purpose of generic?
It is of type safe. So because you change from object
to make it strongly typed, right? So that it will not allow other types, right?
From object.
It will not
From
allow
object,
other
so I
types.
thought yes, yes.
Again, you are
Yes,
asking the same question, right? Don't
object
waste time, man. Don't waste time. Already, that is the point, na? Right?
Okay, sir.
Right. Fine. No, one more person is there. Who is this? Debashish. Tell me, what should I do? Debashish, what you want me to do?
Sir, could you print that, what values we are passing inside the array? Can we print it inside the method just to see like how it is accessible?
If it is not written type defined, then obviously you can print na?
Yeah, we can print it.
Then what is problem?
No, just I want to see like how we are pulling the values from like the value we are passing.
Generally, you tell me how to print an array. Values in an array. How to print the values in an array? Here I am returning. How you will print values in an array?
So we'll access the.
Tell me, man, how you will print the values in an array if it is an array parameter? If it is an array parameter, how you will print the values in an array? See, many people are answering, but you are not answering.
If I can get a chance, I can write it down. But
array, come on, man, don't be so silly. You will write it down. You don't know how to print an array. You can use map method. You can use for iterators, for off. Come on, man. Don't be so silly now anymore in your questions, okay? Time waste all you people. I thought you are very good genius. You will easily understand. So dumb in your concepts and so silly in your questions. I thought you are good at this level. You NOSCOM people. At after learning so much of Java, JavaScript, I thought your levels will be little better, and you are not up to the expectations. So silly in your points and questions. Improve yourself. Get little bit maturity. Be matured, man. Right? Yeah. Don't know. Right. Fine. So technically, so how do you print values in an array? Come on. I said that it can be any type. If it is a string type, how you will print string? If it is array type, how you will print array? So in the previous example, I already printed and showed you. In the previous example, in an object, we stored the details of all the database related properties and all, and we are printing them, right? Yes. So this is the concept. That means now a class can be generic. A class can be generic. Suppose we have a class. The class can be generic. So if a class is generic, the members in the class can be of that particular generic type. Now advantage is, what is the purpose generic? The purpose, that means suppose I am writing a print method and I want to print console.log. So I want to print n is equal to, so this dot n here. Yeah. So what is the purpose of making the class as generic? That means in that class, so many members may be there. And every member we want of the same type. Then generally, when you are defining an object for the class while allocating the memory for the class, so demo, at that time, you tell the data type. You tell the data type. That means I am defining the data type as string and allocate the memory for it. And automatically now when you are accessing n, so n inside this we are sending some number. It's not allowed because now n is string type. It is string type. Now many members inside this particular class can be strictly configured for that particular type. And not every time n will be a number now. Every time n will be a number now. So it depends. So it's string now, it depends. That means if I keep this type as number, then obviously it will be, n will be a number type. It will allow the number. A class can be generic. That means, so can a property be generic? What do you say? Can a property be generic? Can we have generic properties? Yes. So can a method be generic? Method generic. So method also generic. So can a class generic? So class also generic. Sometimes question asked like, can a constructor be generic? Can a constructor be generic? So answer is no. Constructor cannot be generic, but constructor can be generic in other technologies. That means other technologies that supports this generic concept, like .NET is a technology that supports this generic concept, C# language, because TypeScript evolved by the architect of the C# only, .NET languages only. So in that case, generic is a concept of .NET, so it is available. Their constructor can be generic. But in TypeScript, constructor cannot be generic. Only a property can be generic, method can be generic, class can be generic. So the main intention is to make them type safe and configuring them and working with them. So that is the generic types. And another important, so we need to know, so that is enum and module. These two options we will discuss. Enum and modules, that we will see in our next session, okay, tomorrow. tomorrow we will finish the basic of TypeScript. Tomorrow we will finish the basic of TypeScript. Then day after tomorrow onwards, we can start working with Angular now. Directly we will go into the concept of working with Angular. Okay, so tomorrow we will discuss these two important topics and go into it now. We will use all this language knowledge in our Angular now. Okay, tomorrow we'll continue.